Welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Why don't we ever talk about Sammy Sosa?
Joe Giammatteo.
I always knew that Howard Finkel was a degenerate.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one pay-per-view at a time. That's right, folks, this is a special pay-per-view episode, so pay-per-view stipulations are in effect. We're going to be talking about our star ratings for our matches. Joe's going to be letting us know what Dave Meltzer rated these matches in the Wrestling Observer, and in the end, we're going to talk about whether or not we got our money's worth. With that being said, we had a little reach around. A listener coming at us who so graciously presented us with this question on YouTube. Chris K789 asked us, who would you consider the MVP of Raw through the first 8 months of 1998 that is not named Austin or McMahon? And I thought that was a really, really great question considering just where we're at in the storylines as well as the criticisms that we've had of these recent storylines. Ryan, if you wouldn't mind, would you take that first?
Sure, I'd be happy to. For me, I don't know, you could say it's a biased opinion, but I think there's some strong evidence to say Mick Foley is MVP in 98. He had his fantastic match with The Undertaker, the Hell in the Cell, one of the most memorable matches of all time. And beginning of the year, he was doing the Three Faces of Foley. We got introduced to Dude Love and had some good comedy segments with Vince McMahon. So for me, I'm going with Mankind and/or / Mick Foley.
Yeah, well, first off, Chrissy, thank you for your question. We appreciate that. And for me, I think in real life, I'm going to go with Bart Gunn as the MVP. But
just rubbing it in.
The man is hospitalizing people, so
killing motherfuckers.
Yeah, but in the world of kayfabe, I will agree with Ryan that Mick Foley has been the MVP. I'm not really a mark for Mick Foley. I like him, but I'm not a huge fan. But I always give him credit when everybody always talks about Austin and The Rock. Austin and The Rock. In the Attitude Era, I always name that third man brother, which is Mick Foley. And we can't forget about, remember who Austin's foe was after Shawn Michaels. It was Mick Foley, Dude Love.
Yep.
So, and then obviously the King of the Ring in June. So it was kind of his coming out party, I guess you could call it. So yeah, I'm going with Mick Foley.
Great answers, both of you, because you're right. He's up there and he's doing it. I did not end up going with Mick Foley, though. 18%.
I think I know who you went with.
It's either Tiger Ali Singh or Dan Severn. One of the two.
Well,
I assume it's Ken Shamrock.
No, actually, you'd be wrong on that. Kenny was in strong contendership for that. But the way that I was looking at it, and I did consider Mick Foley, but I look at Mick Foley in this era as kind of like The Undertaker in previous eras. They trot him out for a couple really big events and really sell some tickets for it, but then he kind of sits on the back burner in between. I ended up thinking to answer this question, Triple H. He's been a workhorse of the mid-card all year long, and between the promos, DX, the way that they have really built momentum for DX, and we're going to see that going into this pay-per-view here.
Yeah. I
think we've been sleeping on Triple H, and there are legitimate criticisms to lodge against Trips throughout 98 here and there. But for the most part, his feuds have been mostly solid, them and the Nation. You can tell he's working up towards main event status, but again, workhorse of the mid-card right now, Triple H. So that's what I ended up going with.
Yeah, good answer.
Yep.
Hopefully that satisfies you, Chrissy. Hopefully that tickles your taint just enough to keep you tuning in. We'll see where it goes in the rest of 1998, because this pay-per-view that we're about to talk about, it kind of felt like a turning point while I was watching it. And not to get too far ahead of myself, but I was pleasantly surprised with how it went. Well, all right, guys, without further ado, let's get into it. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the SummerSlam 1998. SummerSlam 98 was recorded on August 30th, 1998 at Madison Square Garden in New York City and features Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I am ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. So before we get into the pay-per-view itself, let's not forget that we've now got Sunday Night Heat as the lead-in to this pay-per-view.
Talked about heavily in this episode.
Yeah. So moving forward, we are not going to watch Heat. Don't worry about that. But moving forward, Heat is going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting in setting up some of the things that we're going to talk about during pay-per-views. Just to kind of start it off here, and I'll work through it as we move forward to see just how much of a setup it really becomes in the end as Heat starts to die out a little bit. But going into this pay-per-view, the match is on Heat. And I'm really sorry that we missed some of these. Too Much defeated LOD 2000.
Wow.
How about that?
Sad.
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
We missed that.
This one I am genuinely, I really wish I could have seen this one. Gangrel defeated Dustin Runnels. That sounds like that could have been a good match.
Maybe.
And finally, DOA defeated Bradshaw and Vader.
Ooh.
No thanks. How was Bradshaw even able to function after last week?
I guess he was lucky he did not get injured like everyone else.
He was able to
annihilated.
He was able to stay for his whole class reunion.
Yeah. Even though he got knocked out the quickest, I guess maybe that helped him.
Yeah.
He didn't have enough time to get injured.
The first time in a long time that Vader was probably the best worker in the ring in a match.
Yikes.
And besides that, there was some kind of kerfuffle going on with a hearse that got destroyed by Stone Cold Steve Austin. That'll play into some of our mid-match segments later on, and we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but just so you know, that did happen. And since the pay-per-views are still languishing over on the cock, this is Season 11, Episode 1 of SummerSlam.
Well, don't worry. Next year, you'll have to pay double it to see them.
You'll have no seasons anymore to worry about.
Yar.
Barry Dudensky.
I recommend hitting up Barry in the back of his truck.
It's not a truck. It's a Buick LeSabre.
That's right. That is right. My bad. So, SummerSlam here, it kicked off with an epic, sweeping, visually dramatic, and orchestrally arranged video package with one main theme behind it. Cahoots! And the resolution of that storyline. And I popped when JR led off commentary with, "It's a hot summer night in New York City!" It was great to hear. But since this is a pay-per-view, we are not fucking around. Let's go into our first match of the night. D'Lo Brown defeats Val Venus by disqualification in 15 minutes and 24 seconds to retain the WWF European Championship. I also popped pretty hard when ring announcer Tony Schimmel announced D'Lo as being a resident of Helsinki, Finland. They told us that I think he was a resident of Lisbon, Portugal the last time he got announced, and he's been rotating his location to reflect his European champion status.
Nice of him to give some respect to the Europeans there.
Yeah, he's investing in some real estate, probably.
Well, he's a smart man, as JR does point out at least 36 times throughout this match.
Yep.
Did I hear that he's a CPA?
You may. Yeah. You may have heard that. I was really, really excited going into this match. I didn't know that this was on the card, honestly, until I looked up my research getting ready to watch it. But 15 minutes of two great workers to start the evening, music to my ears. I also really loved the focus on the chest protector from commentary and the way it was being used in this match. I was trying to think of another case where something like this was used with a character to prop up that character's story, just in-ring story. The only other thing I could think of that was kind of comparable was Lex Luger's bionic arm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Listeners, please, if you can think of anything else, let us know. But it's really unique for D'Lo, the way that this chest protector just gives them some extra fodder to talk about during any given match. Doesn't matter who the opponent is, but it gives something for commentary to work with. There was a long series of rope work that ended in a great spine buster from Val on D'Lo. That was a really great payoff for a great buildup. But I groaned when they showed Edge skulking around out in the crowd. He's on this fucking card. Can we stop with the loitering? Please. Just stop it. And I just sat back and I enjoyed this match. It is no secret that I am a total mark for D'Lo Brown. I felt this match was really representative as to why I am. The work was great. I think Val got blown up at one point. I noticed that right before the money shot powerbomb reversal from D'Lo, which was fucking awesome. It looked like Val was breathing a little heavy going into that. I also loved that there was a really strong D'Lo chant going out in the crowd. That led into a running powerbomb from D'Lo that looked badass. And of course, I loved the payoff of Val ripping off D'Lo's chest protector and putting it on himself. That was a great swerve, bro. And the shenanigans with the referee for the finish were well done, I thought, especially with referee Jimmy Corderas getting a money shot after everything was over for his fuck-ups. And that's it. This was a great way to kick off the pay-per-view, and as much as we may talk about main event talent, there is something to be said for the middle and lower card when you have guys like this, again, workhorses, that can do 15 minutes and get the crowd going. Also, I think there is something to be said about this disqualification finish. This is how it should be done. That last episode of Raw that we had, we were commenting on the amount of DQs. I don't want DQs on every 2-minute match just to get us through the evening like we've been getting on Raw. I thought this was a very appropriate and well done DQ finish. I gave this match a very solid 3 stars. Joe, what'd you think of the show opener here?
Well, you mentioned the chest protector quite a bit, and they were mentioning it quite a bit on commentary as well. And I think it's funny to hear them obsessively talk about it, because now we know that Vince just thought D'Lo was kind of fat and wanted him to wear a chest protector. But very good match, I think, very solid match with good near falls, really keeping the crowd engaged, and that's what you want to do when you're at Madison Square Garden. I do think these guys ran out of gas, though, at some point. Val almost got paralyzed on a botched power bomb at one point that looked pretty bad, and that was the point where I could tell, like, okay, D'Lo looks like he's out of gas right now. They did work longer than they normally do, like you said, 2-minute matches on Raw that get DQ, so much longer here than you would see on Raw. I didn't necessarily hate this DQ either, because this match pretty much needed to end where it ended. But I don't know that I like Val Venus destroying this referee. Like, he's supposed to be a babyface. Like, nobody came out to stop him or help that referee. Like, it just all kind of happened. But I thought it was a solid match. I thought the crowd was engaged. I gave it 2 stars. I wanted to give it 3, but I just didn't love the stuff after the match, or the fact that it was pretty evident that I thought they were kind of out of gas, or at least D'Lo was pretty early.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with you, too. I thought this was a very solid match to start things off. Both guys, they're mid-carders, but they're working their way up. And I thought they did a pretty good job with each other. JR, of course, had to bring up that D'Lo played for the Maine Black Bears. That's football, of course. That's the only sport that matters. The match, though, I thought there were a lot of good back and forth between them. I was a little confused as to where this matchup came from. Like, we didn't have any build-up really for it. Last we saw Val, he was in a feud with Kai and Tai, but apparently we're just going to forget about that and move on. But I thought all around it worked pretty well. But unlike you, Bartlett, I can't say I loved the DQ, because it just was like he shoved the ref, and that was the DQ. I don't think that maybe, or I guess maybe a better way for the DQ to happen in my mind was for Val using the chest protector. Like, maybe the ref would say, hey, that's a non-medical cleared use of the chest protector. That's a disqualification. But just shoving the ref out of the way, I thought was a little bit of a cheap ending. But good match, good length, and the action was solid. So I'm in Joe's camp with a 2-star on that.
Okay. What'd Meltzer think of this?
Dave Meltzer gave this 1 3/4 stars. He said this match had its good and bad points. There were some nice moves and great pops for near falls. At the same time, they were out there too long and it became obvious.
Yeah, that's fair. So we got to keep it moving because this is a fast-paced pay-per-view. Next up was Michael Cole backstage investigating that hearse that we mentioned at the top of things that Stone Cold Steve Austin had destroyed on Sunday Night Heat. Mankind was there with Michael Cole inspecting it, and Mankind cut a great little promo there about getting ready to take a sledgehammer to Kane. And that is what took us into our next match. The Oddities, Kurgan, Golga, and the Giant Silva with Luna Vachon and Insane Clown Posse defeats Kai and Tai, that's Taka Michinoku, Sho Funaki, Men's Teo, and Dick to Go with Yamaguchi-san by pinfall in 10 minutes and 10 seconds in a 4-on-3 handicap match. What a stream of shit to have just said. And by God, we have a very rare event here. Kai and Tai, the entire group, are going to be our jobbers of the week. Take it, Ryan.
Thank you, Bartlett. Yes, Kai and Tai, our first whole stable jobbers of the week, and our second ever jobber/jobbers of the week given out during a pay-per-view event. The first, of course, was Bart Gunn at In Your House 13 Final 4. You can head back to our archives if you'd like to hear that one. Kai and Tai debuted in Japan at the promotion Michinoku Pro Wrestling in late 1994. The group has gone by the names Blue World Order Japan, Club Kamikaze, Kai and Tai Deluxe, Kai and Tai DX, and just plain old Kai and Tai. The name Kai and Tai was based on Japan's first modern corporation, Kai and Tai meaning Naval Auxiliary Force. It was a naval institution and paramilitary group dedicated to freeing Japan from feudal rule. So that's kind of neat. When the team first debuted in Japan in 94, it was made up of Sato, who would change his name to Dick to Go, Terry Boy, who would become Men's Teo, and Shiryu, who would remain Shiryu. Later, they would be joined by the tag team of the Dream Chasers, Taka Michinoku and Funaki. By early 97, Kai and Tai made their way to the United States, briefly wrestling for ECW as the Blue World Order Japan. At ECW, they feuded with other Japanese factions and were part of ECW's first ever pay-per-view event, Barely Legal, where they were defeated by the team of Suzuki, Hamada, and Yoshiji. By 1998, the team changed their name back to Kai and Tai and made their way to the WWF. They debuted at the company the night after WrestleMania 14 on the March 30th, 1998 episode of Raw is War. They attacked former Kai and Tai member Taka Michinoku, who joined the WWF before the rest of the group, because they felt he had become too Americanized since joining, which they didn't really make that clear in our watching of it. It was very clear soon, though, that the fans simply did not care about this faction or their feud with the light heavyweight champ Taka Michinoku, and quickly moved on to their most famous storyline, their feud with porn star Val Venus. We just covered all this over the last couple months, but to recap quickly, Kai and Tai's manager, Yamaguchi-san, was cuckolded by Val Venus. Yamaguchi-san promised Val he would get revenge in one of the funniest moments in WWF history when Yamaguchi-san said to Venus after cutting a large salami in half with a katana, "I choppy your pee-pee." The next week, Kai and Tai successfully captured Val, tied him up, and laid his member on the chopping block as the episode faded to black. The following week, we learned that Venus's penis was spared, saved by Batman himself, John Wayne Bobbitt. Val then kicked Mrs. Yamaguchi-san to the curb, and then the feud was abruptly dropped without any real payoff or pay-per-view blow-off match, which takes us to where we're at currently with Kai and Tai, being used basically as stand-ins for a midget match against the three monsters, the Oddities. I say that because Kai and Tai do pretty much all of the midget wrestling gags here. We have Kurgan get down on his knees to show that he's still taller than them, even on his knees. Kai and Tai play rock, paper, scissors to see who's going to go into the ring next. I'm pretty sure the last time we saw that, it was Sleazy, Queasy, and Cheesy that did it.
Yeah.
They even finished the match with all 4 members of Kai and Tai being pinned at the same time. The only thing really missing was ass biting. The writing was clearly on the wall for Kai and Tai, and soon Dick to Go, Men's Tio, and Yamaguchi-san would leave the WWF. Taka and Funaki would remain and continue to use the Kai and Tai name for their tag team. They were used mostly as jobbers and in comedy spots, but they did have one fan favorite catchphrase, evil and indeed, which was done like an old, badly lip-synced Godzilla movie with Bruce Pritchard's voice being used for the dubbed English. Kai and Tai's final WWF match was on October 20th, 2001, defeating Raven and Justin Credible on WWF Jacked. After leaving the WWF, Michinoku ran a promotion, K-Dojo, in Japan until 2019, while Funaki remained at the WWF competing on SmackDown in their Cruiserweight division and as a backstage interviewer before being released in 2010. However, he has since rejoined the company and currently serves as a member of the Japanese commentary team. Sorry, I couldn't find a reliable record for the faction because of all the coming and goings of the different members, but there's no doubt that for their entire time at the WWF, Kai and Tai, the whole fucking stable, were class double J jobbers.
Yeah.
By God.
Yeah, with that kind of resume, doesn't matter what the record was.
No.
Yeah, good recap there, buddy. I had that Indeed shirt and I loved it.
Yes.
18%.
Yep. All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your duties here. And this is slightly off topic, but it makes sense now. The fact that the last time we had a pay-per-view jobber of the week, it was Bart Gunn, and he decided to make everybody pay for it.
Let's see what they do.
Yeah. Nothing is probably... They don't have that strong left hook, so...
Indeed.
All right, in the match, there was definitely some cockfuckery here. I'm pretty sure we missed an ICP performance going into this match. I'm pretty sure I called that. We also really did not have much focus on ICP at all. They were present at ringside, and commentary made mention of them once or twice, but I think there was a lot of creative editing going on here to try to, as smoothly as possible, remove their presence from this.
Which I don't understand. I understand getting rid of their song because of licensing rights, but why cut their faces out?
Yeah, I don't even get the songs, really. ICP
Well, they'd have to pay for the songs.
Well, ICP are huge wrestling fans. They always have been, and you would think that an arrangement could be made for it. It's not like this is ECW where they're just stealing licensing of like a bunch of different people to use as entrance music. They were active participants in this. Something could have been worked out, you would think.
Well, it's still business. They probably want paid.
Well, yeah.
Peacock or whatever.
Well, and they don't want to give anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peacock doesn't want to cough up anything.
Especially what appeared to probably be a live performance.
Well, that's about the most interesting thing I could come up with to talk about this. As soon as Golga started sniffing a shoe and passing the shoe around, I tuned out. I did laugh at the exchange from commentary about baby stealing gypsies, though. That was kind of out of nowhere and pretty funny. Kai and Tai lined up to catch Taka when Giant Silva threw Taka out of the ring. I always have to point out the obvious bullshit that is standing around waiting to catch someone. Fucking terrible and stupid. I hate seeing it. I did like Luna attacking Yamaguchi-san. That was probably one of the few really entertaining things that happened inside the ring here. And that's all I've got for this. This was a dud. I'm not a fan of this, whatever this is, if you want to call it comedy wrestling, whatever. I don't like it. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
Total agreement. As I stated in my Jobber of the Week segment, to me, this just felt like they were stand-ins for midgets.
Yeah.
Like that was the shtick that they were doing here, and I hated it. It was a dud. Easy dud in my book.
Yeah, the only remotely positive thing I can say about this is that I guess I will give them credit for booking this in the right spot as the second match, the shittiest spot on the card. But yeah, this is basically a full-blown comedy match that's just not funny. So yeah, it was pretty horrible, choreographed comedy bullshit. I'm giving it a dud. There's no other rating I could possibly give this.
Yeah, what'd Meltzer think?
5 stars. Now, he gave it -2 stars, and he says, remember when Taka was thought to be the best young worker in the business?
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
The light heavyweight title remembers.
Yeah, it's a good thing they made that happen. All right. Again, pay-per-view. Things move quickly.
One question.
Yeah.
Does Taka hold that belt until Gildberg shows up?
I have no idea.
I'm honestly not sure. I know that there's Gilberg, and then there's also X-Pac. X-Pac does hold it for a brief amount of time, so I'm not sure who takes it first. It'd be really fitting for Gilberg to take it, but off of Taka. All right, let's go into our next match. X-Pac with Howard Finkel defeats Jeff Jarrett with Southern Justice by pinfall in 11 minutes and 11 seconds in a hair versus hair match. While I'm not a fan of this angle, as I have been on the record saying, I am a fan of X-Pac, and I was looking forward to Jeff Jarrett maybe wrestling like he gives a shit here, now that he's up against a quality babyface, and getting closer to the position on the card that is more appropriate for Jeff Jarrett. And I wasn't disappointed in this. Early on, both of these guys had it dialed in. This was the best work I've seen out of Double J in as long as I can remember. Maybe it's just because the bar was
probably since
set so low.
Since he was having those matches with Shawn Michaels, 3 years ago or something.
That's my exact note. I think the last time that I was impressed with Double J was a match of the year candidate that we had. It was him and Shawn Michaels. So it shouldn't be a surprise when I say that I sat back and enjoyed this. The pace of the match was perfect. They built a lot of tension to get to some rapid fire 2 counts. And if I have to criticize something here, it would be Howard Finkel's interference. Also Southern Justice. That just, I don't know.
No, Southern Justice.
Yeah.
Isn't that something shitty, though? Because, think about a couple years ago, just how high up we were on Henry O. Godwin.
Yeah.
And because he is a good ring worker, but they have just completely destroyed him.
He also did break his neck twice, so.
He did.
Yeah. Probably didn't help. But was that Howard Finkel or was that Gilberg?
I also thought it was kind of ridiculous that the referee gave the 3 count among a pile of broken guitar. There's obviously something suspicious about that.
No, nothing happened.
That's not the first time that happens throughout the night here, but a lot of people showed up after the pin to hold Double J down to do his hair cutting. I actually did really like that. We must have missed some Superstars matches because the Headbangers came out here, and there was a theme. Besides the Headbangers, also Draws, who we know got his hair cut by Double J at one point. It made me wonder, what hair got shaved on the Headbangers? Because they're bald. That must have happened in Dave Hebner's office. Shave him dry. All in all, as much as I poo-pooed the hair angle, this turned out pretty good. I went with another 3-star rating because I was just really happy to have Jeff Jarrett back. It feels like he's been gone forever. I don't know who the fuck that other guy was that's been in the ring, but this is the Jeff Jarrett that I know and love. Joe, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, I was looking forward to this match just because I think that X-Pac is on a really good roll right now with his matches, and the biggest credit I can give these guys is that they got this crowd back into it after that complete mess of garbage that we saw before this with ICP and the oddities and all this other bullshit they were doing. So credit to these guys for that alone. Good near falls and a huge pop from the crowd on the 3 count too. They were into it. So that earned 3 stars for me. I don't really give a shit about the hair gimmick, but again, lots of near falls, and it got the crowd back into the show, so 3 stars for me.
I agree with you both. I thought this was a fun match and one I was looking forward to, despite the haircut gimmick part of it. When I saw Double J and X-Pac, that they were going to take each other on, I thought we were in for a treat, and I thought they delivered. This wasn't one of the most memorable matches. This wasn't like some classic match, but it felt very appropriate. I thought, just like you mentioned, Bartlett, it kind of elevated Double J to a level we haven't seen him in a long time. I feel like X-Pac has been there, but Double J has really been smacking every rung on the ladder on the way down lately. He finally caught himself and he's lifting himself back up. So that was cool to see here. The ending was good. I, too, gave it a solid 3 stars because so far, I thought it was the best match of the night.
What'd Meltzer have on it?
Well, so he's been shitting on Jeff Jarrett quite a bit lately, but he did give this 3 stars. He said that these two work really well together. He said it was fast, or there were fast, well-timed spots, particularly X-Pac was right on the money with his kicks and a great swinging DDT.
Yeah, and to be sure, that shitting on Jeff Jarrett was deserved.
Right.
Yeah.
Not sure how much of that we can really blame on Jeff Jarrett, because if we think back to the timeline, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but he was having those great matches with Shawn Michaels. Then he got up to the whole roadie thing where he and the Road Dogg held up. What is it? They held up the title, or that hasn't happened yet. They walked out after a pay-per-view. And then he was gone for a little bit. And when he came back, he went straight into the NWA angle.
No, he went, remember, he was pissed off with Vince McMahon. He cut that promo on Vince McMahon.
Oh, that's right. He had the Aztec outfit on.
That's right.
And it just went nowhere.
Then he went with the NWA.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Still, though, he's been pretty much buried since he came back until now. And that's kind of what I was thinking while I was watching this, is I can't really blame him for not caring too much back then. Look at what he was working with, the whole NWA thing. I really can't blame him for just showing up and hitting the pay window.
Going through the motions.
Yeah. But it's good to have him back here because, again, really reminiscent of the old Double J that we were all excited about. Off to the side of the ring area, I guess is where it was. Did you guys get a better read on where the Lions Den was set up? Was it part of Madison Square Garden still?
Yeah, they mentioned it. JR mentioned it briefly when the match started. It was in the basement underneath the arena they were in.
Okay.
They called it the Madison Square Garden Theater that apparently is underneath it.
It's a theater, yeah.
Okay. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, Meltzer was just noting it as the theater adjacent to the arena. So yeah, it must be connected somewhere.
Okay. Well, Doc Hendricks was there, where the Lion's Den was set up. This is a multi-sided steel cage. It's not literally an octagon with 8 sides, but it kind of looks like it's kind of shaped like an octagon. It kind of reminded me of the Elimination Chamber. Almost, and kind of in its look. It's
a little smaller.
Yeah, it's not exact, but just like I don't know, just the look of it with the walking platform up around the top of it.
I was just happy that this wasn't just your neighbor's basement with a washer and dryer in the corner.
Drop plumbing hanging down from the ceiling.
It had that old studio wrestling feel to it.
Yes, it did. And now that we finally got a visual of just what the hell a Lion's Den match might look like, I'm excited for it. I didn't know what to think of it going up into this. It really made me wonder why this is the first time we're seeing this structure. They could have used images of it for promotional material. I know it's a brand new thing and this is the first time it's being done, but it would have been really helpful in the lead up to SummerSlam if we would have just known, like, hey, this is what the Lion's Den match is going to look like.
Every time they brought it up, the image in my head that I got was from Gladiator when they have like the lions on the chains in the arena and they're like holding them back. Obviously, I knew that wasn't going to be how it was, but that was the image I got in my head every time they call it a Lion's Den match.
Yeah, I kept on thinking of the dungeon match. Like, I didn't think it was going to be in a basement, but I was like, I didn't have anything better to compare it to. So after that, we went to Michael Cole. Michael Cole, who was backstage with The Rock for comment on the upcoming ladder match against Triple H. And this was another great Rock promo. You could hear the crowd popping for it there in the arena. And from there, we quickly moved into our next match. Edge and Sable defeat Mark Marrow and Ms. Jacqueline by pinfall in 8 minutes and 26 seconds in a mixed tag team match. Honestly, going into this, my only regret was that we weren't really going to get to see Jackie wrestle. If anything, we would be getting her holding back on Sable's account. Much like Luna did before. Skank. Sable announced her partner as Edge at the start of this, so he can finally get the fuck out of the way of the glizzy vendor out there. Like, seriously.
Glizzy vendor.
Seriously, Edge. That's right, glizzy vendor.
The fuck is a glizzy?
That's what the kids call hot dogs these days. Didn't you know that?
Yeah, all of our young listeners probably call it that.
Wow.
They'll know what I'm talking about.
Whatever happened to the hot dog?
Yappers.
Yeah, a good old yapper. I don't know about a glizzy.
A pork missile.
Glizzy sounds like something fucking Val Venus would do into a bun.
And if I can just take a quick moment to plug Hippie brand hot dogs.
Denver, PA.
The best hot dogs in existence. As a matter of fact, there have been recent talks amongst some Wrasslin Raw participants here about importing crates of hot dogs into the west of Pennsylvania.
I don't live out there anymore, so I can't get them.
Well, if you'd come up this way and drive down Interstate 83, you can probably find some laying along the side of the road.
All over the road. But just to the owner of Hippie Dogs, we're all about the hippies. So if you want to
sponsor,
we'll trade like dogs.
We'll plug you every week if you send us crates of Hippie Dogs.
Goddamn right. Now that we've finally gotten the very interesting and personally, I think, really interesting topic about hot dogs out of the way. I'm a hot dog guy. We're all from Newcastle, and Newcastle is the hot dog capital of America. That much more interesting than what was actually going on here in the ring. I was left wondering what the plan for Edge is in all of this. We've gone from vampire hunter to silicon supporter here. And do you know what we also have not had in a minute? Sable screaming like a fucking banshee at ringside. It was great to have that back again.
They took care of that in this match, yeah.
You can hear her over the entire fucking crowd, and I hated it. Also, why on earth would Jackie be afraid of Sable and run away from her? That happened more than once in this.
About as believable as Sable beating her in an arm wrestling match.
Right. I did pop when JR said, "Oh no, Sable bomb, not again," whenever Sable was setting up Marrow. But yeah, that's it. Otherwise, I hated this. It was a dud. Not because of anything with Edge or Marrow, really. I was barely able to pay attention to what they were doing, but purely because of the Sable focus and just her screeching. It's terrible when she does that, and she does it a lot whenever she's involved in these matches. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this match?
It was pretty much what I expected. We knew that this match was going to happen. We didn't know Edge was going to be involved. Actually, the work between Mark and Edge was perfectly fine. I had nothing wrong with the way those two guys wrestled each other. It was nice to see Edge successfully did his suicide leap without breaking anyone's neck. That was good to see. Unfortunately, we did have to deal with a Sable screaming and wrestling. They rubbed it in Mark Marrow's face a little bit more. He, of course, took the loss. Sable pinned him. The real question about this match is, when will they let Mark Marrow just move on from this? When will he stop having to be just a fucking punching bag for his wife?
Please stop. He's already dead.
I that's actually my next line I had written in my notes. He's already dead. Because of Edge and Marrow, I did not go with a dud. I gave it 1 star, but that was a very leery 1 star.
Yeah, first off, I still can't get over how, and I get that some of these fans can be a risk, but Sable gives 0 high fives on her way to the ring.
Oh yeah, she hates the fans.
Yeah,
Well, she basically like covers herself and holds her hands
away
together.
from
Yeah, she
Yeah.
basically cringes
like
into the middle.
Especially here where she's coming out to wrestle in a match. You would think that she would give a couple high fives or something. But that right away just shows you like she's not made for this.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great entrance for Edge, though, coming through the crowd. This original music for Edge has always been one of my favorite theme songs. So
the "You Think You Know Me" beginning.
Yeah, so that was cool to see. But yeah, hearing Sable with her Banshee screaming at Edge to make a tag was just obnoxious. And Jackie is 1,000 times more athletic and probably 1,000 times stronger than Sable. And we're supposed to believe that Jackie is afraid of Sable. Like, it's impossible to believe. Now, this was a dud for sure from the beginning for me until I saw the spanking, where Edge put Jackie over his knee and spanked her. And I thought, okay, well, now I'm up to like 3 stars. I really enjoyed that. But everything that Mero and Jackie did at the end there, didn't we see Luna and Goldust do basically the same thing where they sort of like fell on top of each other and then it just wasn't very creative at all. So I'm giving this a dud because Sable just ruined this for me. The screaming, Mark Mero taking a Hurricane Rana from her, almost another Sable bomb. And Mark Mero took the pin from Sable, which isn't that illegal, first off. I thought that it had to be man versus man, woman versus woman, because I thought JR told us
Unless it's humiliating Mark Mero,
then
it's allowed.
I did like Edge. I liked the reaction for him from this New York crowd. And I really, really enjoyed the spanking, but I had to give this a dud.
Yeah, what did Meltzer say about it?
He gave it 1.5 stars. He said this match was fine, although the reactions to Sable wrestling paled in comparison to when she was first put in the ring a few months back at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it sounds like reality has set in amongst the fans into where exactly they want Sable to be. That is on the side. Sable on the side. We're just strutting around, but not wrestling.
Or screaming.
Right.
Yeah, definitely no wrestling.
Just
ever.
Put the pasties on her again, strut her around.
And just so our listeners out there know, like, we are not exaggerating. Her volume level in this screaming, it's way above the crowd. Like, you have to listen to it to
I had
really
to replace
get it.
the speakers in my surround sound after I watched it.
All I could think of listening to it was like, it must be just hell being married to this woman. If that's how she screams at you, god damn. All right. Moving along. Mankind was backstage again with Michael Cole. And here is a reminder that Kane and Mankind are the tag team champs. That's kind of been getting lost in the shuffle here. Mankind was losing his mind about the upcoming tag team match against the New Age Outlaws because, obviously, given what has happened in recent weeks, Kane wasn't going to be there supporting him. And I loved this segment because Vince McMahon came out and talked Mankind into doing this 1-on-2 match. And I especially loved the part where Vince went searching. Mankind was freaking out about not having any weapons and being able to defend himself. Vince went and just rounded up some random garbage that was laying around. One of which was a aluminum chafing dish like you would use in catering. Put some garbage in the chafing dish, handed it to Mankind, and said, "I am handing you victory on a silver platter." I popped my ass off. Loved it.
It was a great therapy session from Vince.
Yeah.
It was.
Really out of character, like recent character for him, unless you want to view it as him being really manipulative and disgusting.
Yes, I think that is the only way to view it.
Yeah.
He went into full-on car salesman mode.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm handing you victory on a silver platter.
Out the door.
After that, we got a video package reviewing the history that brought us into our next match. Ken Shamrock defeats Owen Hart with Dan Severn by pinfall in 8 minutes and 26 seconds in a Lion's Den match. So I actually really liked the look of this They did a really great job of mimicking the camera look and feel of UFC matches, including the cameras like up at the top of the cage looking down in, the lighting of it. This, if I didn't know any better, like you could watch this and think that this was an actual UFC match, the way that it was filmed, the production values in it and style. I also really love that shirt that Owen has been wearing lately. Owen Hart Still Beating. That's a really great shirt. I looked up on eBay. Vintage.
$300.
$400 actually. Yeah. $399 is what I saw. But the match itself, I was conflicted on. I've said in previous episodes, I think it's really hard to fake a UFC match. And now, to be sure, this was light years ahead of Dan Severn versus Ken Shamrock last week on Raw. But the lighting and the camera work can only make up for so much of the deficit that you have there. Having said that, the skill on display in the ring was great. They didn't lean on the UFC style for too long. This was more about being bounced off of the cage and then getting slammed in the center of the den. And I was mostly okay with all of that. There's nothing really I can complain about there. Shamrock almost got his fucking neck broken when Owen reversed Kenny in midair after a really neat rebound leap from the cage. That was really cool. Just a really great visual. Bumped Shamrock up in my books. And also there was a DDT from Shamrock that was out of a headlock that looked really good. And that's really all I had on this. As a novel kind of match, it wasn't too bad. I'm not sure if I want to see more of this in the future, but I wouldn't object to that. But if given the choice, I really think I'd like to just have Shamrock in a normal wrestling ring moving forward. So I went with 2 stars here. Joe, what'd you have on it?
So this is at least the second pay-per-view match between these two, Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart. This is the second one in a row, at least, that we've seen. And I think they work well together. There's obviously chemistry there since Ken Shamrock did actually train at the dungeon. But storyline-wise, there's just not anything there for me between Ken Shamrock and Owen Hart. And they're having these matches that really should have a storyline behind them. Like you mentioned, the look and feel of this was good, but this match, to me, it just wasn't as brutal as it was hyped up to be.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And Owen just does not strike me as a Lion's Den type of guy. He's more of a technical wrestler. Doesn't really strike me as a striker or a catch-as-catch-can style, if you will. So, I don't know. I didn't hate this. I did like the look and the feel of it. I thought Owen did have some pretty cool moves where he was jumping from the side of the cage, kind of utilizing the cage as much as he could. But I did end up giving it 2 stars. And again, the Dan Severn factor is just completely useless. Just totally useless. So maybe I would have gone a little bit higher if there was just more to the story that I actually cared about.
Yeah, it sounds like we're all going to be in agreement here. The feel and look was spot on. It was, I think, exactly what they wanted to deliver. But the story, as you said, Joe, is lacking in that I feel that this entire feud and matches that they've built up with Ken and Owen was supposed to be Ken and Dan Severn. It's just that Dan Severn has showed himself to suck so bad in the ring and be such a black hole of charisma that they decided to fall back on Owen, and the story aspect of these matches got hurt because of it. But as far as how they worked, these two work very well together. The way they utilized the cage, I thought, was strong. Scraping each other against it, jumping off the cage. Bartlett, you mentioned, probably the best spot of the night when Shamrock launches himself off of the cage and Owen reverses him and catches him into a slam. Like, that was badass. But it's just every time they try these realistic style matches, they end up not quite delivering. Most of the time they flat out suck, or they don't quite deliver on what they were promising.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give this 3 stars. I really did. But in the end, comparing it to the other matches of tonight that I was giving 3 stars to, or 2, I couldn't go above 2 stars, even though I really wanted to. It just didn't quite deliver a 3-star match.
Yeah. What'd Meltzer think?
He gave it 3.5 stars. and he didn't really say much about it as far as his opinion of it. He just said it was really good, and then he just basically broke it down move by move. So 3.5 stars.
Okay. Ryan, I think you really hit the nail on the head with that. Like, this should have been Severn. The plan, like the original plan. That was, because that kind of...
It just makes more sense if it's Severn.
Right.
It's funny, too, because Vince kind of used Brett the same way. It's like, this Hogan thing didn't work out. He's gone now, so I guess I'll put the title on Brett. It's like, Severn sucks, and nobody cares about him, so let's just throw Owen in there.
Yeah. And what a backhanded compliment for both Brett and Owen. Like, we know that you can do it. We know that you're good enough to do it. We know that we can trust you to do the absolute best you can. Well, why didn't you just give it to them in the fucking first place? All right. After that, backstage, Michael Cole was there with Stone Cold Steve Austin, talking about Austin's upcoming match with The Undertaker at the top of the night. Stone Cold ended it by shoving Michael Cole, and that was good to see as we went into our next match. The New Age Outlaws defeat Mankind by pinfall in 5 minutes and 16 seconds in a no-holds-barred, falls count anywhere, 2-on-1 handicap match to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. I enjoyed the hell out of this almost from the very start. You don't want a hardcore match going on for too long, but honestly, the Outlaws do a really great job of working in the hardcore format. I know they're not traditionally considered a hardcore team like some other teams come to be, but they do great work here, especially with Mankind, who that's his bread and butter. He's in his element here in this. I popped at JR saying, I wish I had $1 for every concussion that Mankind has had.
Yeah, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Right. A couple months from now, you're going to earn a whole $17 in one match. I also popped with the Outlaws getting frustrated with Mankind kicking out. They really visually sell that really well, both of them. And I loved how invested the crowd was with the victory, the Outlaws winning. But if I have to be a nitpicking dickbag, I actually was not a fan of Billy Gunn tough-talking Mankind's broken corpse there on the mat. He could have just as easily given a general, and if you're not down with that, we've got 2 words for you, like he usually does. But he got in Mankind's face after they concussed the living shit out of him throughout the match, and I didn't appreciate that. I was also even less of a fan of Kane popping up out of the dumpster after the Outlaws put Mankind's just destroyed carapace in there. Apparently Kane had been in there the entire time. I did like the coup de grace Kane gave Mankind with the sledgehammer and JR losing his shit over it.
That damn demon in red.
But just the demon seed.
That's later.
Oh, that's right. My bad. I don't know. It was fitting and correct for the story, but I don't like this whole like people popping up out of containers thing. It's like,
especially together.
Right. They were spooning in there.
Yeah.
Chainsaw Charlie cutting himself out of a box with a chainsaw is one thing, but Kane getting wheeled down to the ring in a dumpster, like that's just no. So in the end, I loved this match. I can't put it any simpler than that. I ended up with a solid 3 stars once again. Ryan, what'd you think of it?
I agree. I did really love how it started. Mankind and the Outlaws kind of exchanging hits with chair. They had a sword fight with the chairs at one point. That was fun to watch. Then the numbers game catches up to Mick and they start dishing out CTE to Mick pretty heavily. They take turns just blasting him in the head with the cookie sheets, just 1, 2, 3, and then they both do it together just to add a little extra cheese on that Whopper. But I was pumped to hear that we got a little bit of a Foley chant from the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool. And Joe, as you mentioned last week, it looks like they're trying to turn him babyface, and it looks like it's already working.
Yeah.
We already got people out there happy to see him. I will say I'm not crazy about, I guess, the whole premise of the match. I thought that Mankind and the Outlaws did a perfectly fine job delivering here. It's a pay-per-view match for the tag team belts and it's not a tag team match. It's a handicap match. It doesn't feel right that the belts change in such a cheap manner. And I think for me, that was the only thing that took it down from a 3-star to a 2-star for me, because I just felt like this isn't the appropriate way to handle the tag team titles, even though I did enjoy the match pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this almost became like a throwaway match, really, just to quickly change those titles. The New York crowd is always going to tell you what you need to know, what direction you need to go to. And yeah, like you mentioned, there's Foley chants, ECW chants coming from them. So Mankind is supposed to be the heel in this situation, but crowd was definitely behind him. It's definitely an attempt to get Mankind more over, which I think is working. But I don't know. Like I said, I feel like this was just a throwaway match just to do that and to change the titles. So I give it 2 stars. I do think it does get Mankind over, which is great, even though he kind of got jobbed out here in a way. But I do think that they will hopefully follow up on this and continue to see that rise for Mick Foley.
First of all, I see where you guys are coming from with that. And to a certain extent, I do agree, because the only people that give a shit about the tag team titles are the New Age Outlaws. And for me, that was part of what made this match appealing, because, and the crowd showed that too. The crowd popped for the Outlaws winning. The crowd chanted along with the Road Dogg. The crowd was just as excited about this victory as the New Age Outlaws themselves were. But there was also that support for Mick, like you guys brought up. And I didn't view this as a throwaway match so much, because the tag team titles got back to where they belong in the hands of the only guys that care about them. But also, this was a hell of a vehicle to get over Mick as that babyface, because what better way to build a babyface than a naive, innocent, young Mrs. Foley's baby boy getting manipulated by Vince McMahon? And we've laid some groundwork there for further babyface turn for Mankind later on. He can claim to be manipulated, whatever. I'm sure commentary will do that for us here pretty soon in the future, JR at least. But I think that if you're looking at this as a tag team match specifically, then yes, it's pretty much a throwaway match. But the way that I see this match really starting some long-term storytelling for Mankind, as well as kind of just putting the tag team belts back where they belong, I think that was just I think it was really well done. What'd Meltzer think of this?
He gave this 1 star.
Well, fuck him.
He said this match did not work on many levels. He also gives a little trivia note here that I don't think was mentioned on the show. So this is Billy Gunn's 6th reign as a tag team champion, which is a record for the WWF.
Yeah, because shit, half of those were with the Smoking Guns, right? Because they were champions 3 different times. Yeah.
I'm assuming that's why it wasn't mentioned. They didn't want to give Bart Gunn any more mention on here than they had to.
Didn't want to give him any kind of hope for the future.
Speaking of Bart Gunn, I have a feeling that because Meltzer kept teasing that Butterbean was going to be Sable's mystery partner, and I have a feeling that they had like one more appearance on his contract, and JR wanted to save it for WrestleMania to humiliate Bart Gunn.
Maybe initially that was the plan, but the moment Bart Gunn won, they were like, hold on, Butterbean. We've got something else for you.
So after that
your favorite band.
Shitty DX band came out again. Terrible.
The house band.
This performance was even worse than the last time.
Even better, I was thinking.
No, you can't. Oh my God, you can't honestly listen to this bullshit and say that.
Triple H put him up on his shoulders, the singer.
It's like they had a monkey on the soundboard.
I did have noted that Jim Johnston's guitar tone sounded like absolute ass, and it was like way too high in the mix. Like it just sounded shit. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic.
All this did, all it did was make me think of how much I'm looking forward to Motorhead up on the big stage to introduce the game.
Hopefully we'll get it.
Oh shit, you're right. Oh, that sucks.
I don't know. They're going to replay the fucking Patriots music.
So, the DX band, they were there to introduce our next match. Triple H with Chyna defeats The Rock with Mark Henry in 26 minutes and 1 second to win the WWF Intercontinental Championship. Something that I noticed that I never paid attention to before is the way they cinch the belt into that dangling loop. There's like that little tongue sticking out so that it can easily be peeled off. Stupid, I know, dumb thing to think about, but I noticed it here and I was like, that makes perfect sense. I really like the way they do that. Oh, and Chyna, amazing. Amazing. I didn't plan on making direct comparisons between this and the all-time gold standard ladder match between Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, so instead commentary did that for me right at the outset, and I kind of didn't like that. I don't want to make those comparisons, but if commentary is going to bring it up, then I kind of am going to wind up doing that. This didn't really start to grab my interest until Try's leg injury. And the way they started working with that piqued my interest. That got me going on this. I did not like the first real climb for the belt from The Rock. It was just way too drawn out. The Rock literally could have just taken another step up the ladder and easily had the belt. But then I did like the catapult into the ladder, followed by the flare flop into the Spanish commentary table by Triple H. That was a really neat thing to watch. And then we got another slow climb again from The Rock. But then right after that, we got a perfect climb from Triple H. I think it was his first one of the night. If not his first, then definitely his second. Even JR commented about how they were on their feet for it whenever it finally happened. I liked Triple H pounding on The Rock with the chair while The Rock was under the ladder, and there were a lot of really well-worked spots here once we got into the real meat of the match. Both the People's Elbow and the Rock Bottom went over really well with the crowd and with me. One thing that I did not care for was Mark Henry throwing talc powder in Triple H's eyes with the excuse that the ref didn't see it. There was a cloud of powder still hanging in the air. Tripp's face was covered in powder, and so was Mark Henry's entire enormous fist. This was Earl Hebner level of referee stupidity.
Didn't see it.
Terrible. I did like Chyna coming in with the low blow, though. That was good interference. That worked for me, brother. That's what clinched Triple H the win. I was just kind of happy seeing the gold flowing to DX tonight. I liked that aspect at the end of this. But then we got some exclusive home footage after that. That's home footage in quotes, extra attitude, if you will, that was added in. And I really loved this because this was a camera following The Rock backstage after exiting the ring area back to his dressing room. And this was the best kind of old school post-match promo. I was watching this with The Rock and I was thinking about Dusty Rhodes backstage all sweaty and bloody after a match. A huge part of me thought about the Japanese death matches. This is the kind of promo that you would see in the locker room after the Japanese death match with Mick Foley, Terry Funk. This promo, to me at least, was just as good, if not better, than the entire match that preceded it because of what The Rock was saying, the way he was saying it, and the way that it was presented. I was popping my ass off for this promo. I was at 3 stars by the end of the ladder match because of the way that they were able to build that up over time. And while it really should not be compared to the gold standard at WrestleMania 10, that surprise promo from The Rock, it honestly took it up to 4 for me. I fucking loved that promo. That was the highlight of the entire night so far for me. Joe, what'd you think of this match?
First off, Triple H is supposed to be selling a knee injury. He got Tanya Hardinged in the back during Sunday Night Heat, right? This night, I think. So he's supposed to be selling a knee injury, but he puts that shitty-ass singer up on his shoulders, so his knee must be fine. I hated that. And I laughed out loud when The Rock clearly went under the apron to blade his forehead. I don't know if you guys caught that. So that was funny.
I missed
the ladder spots. They looked a little. I think I mentioned last week. Meltzer pointed out that these guys didn't really work this out at the house shows, but the ladder spots to me looked a little bit sloppy and dangerous. In fact, I'm not sure how neither of them blew out a knee the way that they were falling down from this ladder, but it seems like they're both okay after the match, and the crowd was super into this match. The crowd was really telling a story here, and the People's Elbow got a massive reaction from the crowd. Loud, rocky chants. So again, this New York crowd is always going to tell WWF Creative what they need to do. For me, I feel like Triple H worked more fake in this match, if that makes sense. I thought he was kind of overselling the exhaustion a little bit, especially when handling the ladder, but it doesn't matter what I think because this was a huge reaction for his win from this live crowd. But I did give it 3 stars. I thought, again, Triple H's selling was just a little too fake for me, and he barely sold this so-called bad knee that he was supposed to have. I think at this point, and it's funny that I'm going to point this out because Bartlett, you were putting him over at the beginning. I think I'm just not a huge Triple H fan, to be honest. Like, I'm just not a fan of his promos. I'm not really a fan of his matches that much. I don't hate them, but I'm just not a mark for Triple H. But
in general, or at this point in 1998?
At this point in 1998.
Okay.
Yeah, I just like the whole "Are you ready?" thing is just kind of lame to me that he does, and
yeah, it's trash.
I just thought with this match, I wanted to see that, even though it was kind of annoying at times, I wanted to see that Bret Hart selling the knee from Triple H a little bit, because that was a story that was supposed to be behind this match, but he didn't do it. It was just a regular ladder match, but ended up on 3 stars.
I think commentary out of the whole, comparing it to the classic, the gold standard, the Shawn Michaels Razor Ramon ladder match, it did it a disservice because this was a excellent match. But if you immediately compare it to the best that ever has been of that match, you're kind of just setting it up for failure.
It's like how we talked last week about the Hell in a Cell on Raw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying this match was bad on any level. I loved this match. I thought both guys put in a hell of a job. You said some of the ladder spots were a little bit sloppy, but I thought they did do a pretty good job using the ladder as a weapon. I understand where you're coming from. There was one in particular where The Rock knocked Triple H down with the ladder, and Triple H almost came like right across the ladder from the top of it. Like that probably would have been a stretcher if he would have ended up hitting the ladder. So there were some sketchy things, but for the most part, I thought it worked really well. And Bartlett, you pointed out my favorite part of the match, which was Triple H getting slingshot into the ladder. And then he did a completely cartoon oversail, stumble around, and then the Flair flop into the announcer table. I love when Triple H does his cartoon selling. I always enjoy that. To me, though, I was riding pretty high at a 4-star with this match, but then the end came. It starts off, we have Mark Henry throw the dust into Triple H's eyes, and I kind of rolled my eyes at that. And then The Rock climbing up the ladder, China comes in and gives him the low blow. Both of those things together, I felt kind of ruined the match. We don't end up with a clean winner. It just felt a little bit cheapened by this extracurricular activity happening and it not just being one of the two guys besting the other. And I really hated that. And it ended up bringing it down to a 3-star for me. If the ending would have not been help from the outside, I would have stayed at 4 stars. But because of that, it knocked it down 1.
Yeah, you guys, I think, both hit the nail on the head with the way that the ladder was used. As soon as you both made your comments about that, I immediately remembered how throughout the match, every time that the ladder was used as a weapon, it also recoiled back on the person using it. There wasn't a time where the person wasn't like on the outside in the entryway, The Rock using the ladder as a weapon on Triple H, but then would like drop the ladder on his own head. That was the most blatant example of it, but it happened every time they tried. And Joe, like you said, that's just a symptom of the fact that they have not worked this out at house shows ahead of time, because you didn't see that happening for Shawn and Razor. And again, I hate to make that comparison, but here we are. What'd Meltzer think of it?
He enjoyed it. He gave it 4.25 stars.
Whoa.
He said it's funny, he compares it to Shawn Michaels matches too. He says there was nothing spectacular along the lines of Shawn Michaels ladder bumps that WWF ladder matches are famous for, but this was the match that stole the show.
I gotta be honest, I'm kind of surprised that neither of you had comment on the promo, the aftermatch promo.
I basically agree with everything you said on that. I didn't want to
That's
just
kind of the
repeat
same with
what
me.
you
There
said.
wasn't much to really add on it.
Yeah.
It was very well done.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll move it along then to our final match of the night. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeats The Undertaker by pinfall in 20 minutes and 52 seconds to retain the WWF Championship. I wanted to start here saying that I love when Austin comes out to actual breaking glass. Like when they have a sheet of glass with a graphic printed on it that shatters in time with the music. That is badass. I love that. I also loved The Undertaker not moving an inch in the ring, standing his ground, staring down Steve Austin until the bell rang. And the second the bell rings, he instantly goes into the Michael Myers slow walk, stalking Austin. That was good shit too. I really liked the midair catch into the hot shot on Austin. That looked great. And I also really liked Austin's reversal of Taker's rope walk. That looked great too. Kane showing up was the first low for me in this match.
This was the demon seed spot.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
He calls them about 12 different demonic names here.
I did not want to be reminded of Cahoots when I was already enjoying the match. Because I was up there. The
show was built on Cahoots, though.
Yeah.
I know, but they did a really good job of really
the...
not focusing on that too much, though. But thankfully, Taker told Kane to take a hike. Kane obeyed, and we moved on with the match. Undertaker's running chokeslam to follow up all of that took us back to great visuals, great action. Taking it into the crowd, that was not a good thing for me. They literally got lost in the crowd.
They were up in the cheap seats.
Yeah, we couldn't see anything that was going on. I really hope that like somebody in the production booth, Kevin Dunn, said to the referee through the earpiece, you need to get them back in the ring because we can't see shit with you guys out there. Undertaker's attempted set-on bomb from the corner onto Austin on the Spanish announce table looked sketchy as hell. He got up fine out of that, but it really looked like The Undertaker was no longer 7 feet tall after that. Looked like he compressed a few discs with his ass hitting the Spanish announce table and it not buckling underneath him. We got another reversal of the rope walk, that time with a nut shot. That led into the stunner to get Austin the victory. And I did really like Undertaker handing over the belt at the end and maintaining his word that this would be a one-on-one. It doesn't help the whole heel turn for Undertaker at all, so that's a little bit confusing on its own. But then I also really liked Kane coming out to stand next to Undertaker while they were watching Austin work the corners, and that is where we faded to black. I hate to say that I was pleasantly surprised by this because let's look at the talent involved.
It's Undertaker and Stone Cold.
Right. But I was pleasantly surprised, and that goes for the entire pay-per-view, as a matter of fact. This match, like the rest of SummerSlam, was so much better than what the buildup suggested it was going to be. I loved that they kept Cahoots to an absolute minimum. I loved that these two styles of wrestling, Austin and Undertaker, work so well with each other. And I think that this was a very worthy main event for one of the big four of the year. I still can't get past that build-up, though, so I went with a very, very solid 4 stars on this match. Ryan, what'd you think of our main event here?
I agree with you, despite the buildup, and the buildup did kind of tamper down our expectations for what this match was going to be. But once the two got in the ring and the bell rung, they delivered, and in a phenomenal way, I thought. Both guys just wrestled their ass off. The Undertaker has been kind of sliding into a heel position as of late, but as we talked about last week, The Undertaker has these built-in fans like myself that no matter what he does, they're going to cheer for him. And they scan the crowd. We saw a bunch of Undertaker signs and people dressed as The Undertaker. Those people are going to cheer for him, heel or babyface. It doesn't matter. But there's no doubt that when Stone Cold came in and the glass broke, the crowd was predominantly in his corner, which they're supposed to be. The spot where Kane came out, I was getting a little bit upset over that, or I was disappointed. But when The Undertaker sent him packing, saying, no, I'm going to do this alone, I was very thrilled by that. I was so worried that we were going to get some cahoots bullshit in this match instead of the one-on-one we were promised. And to that point, this was a good, classic, no cheap gimmick, no shenanigans, heavyweight title match. No outrageous stipulations, no real weapons being used outside of some of the action on the outside. The Undertaker jumping from the top rope, it did look a little bit shaky, but it was a sight to see. The Undertaker jumping from that top rope to the outside. Unfortunately, the Spanish announcers table didn't break away. It would have really put the spot over, but I still thought it was a spectacle for this match. Then we got to the end, and again, no shenanigans like last match. This was a clean victory off of someone hit their finisher. The finisher actually worked and actually got a clean victory. I was fucking thrilled.
Yeah.
This wasn't a 5-star. This wasn't one of the match of the year candidate probably, but I gave it a very strong 4-star and loved pretty much every moment of it.
Well, I guess I will be the 18%er here. As you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of wrestling, and I like some shenanigans. I don't know that I wanted shenanigans. I think this match for me was more of just a victim of Summer of Cahoots for me.
Yeah.
Like I just
couldn't get over it.
I couldn't get past it. I really couldn't. Yeah, I think at the beginning, I will say, JR does a great job at the beginning of this match, just making this out to be a big fight. He's reminding us that Undertaker has about 70 pounds on Austin. He's also reminding us about the Kane and the Mankind factor. There could be shenanigans. There could be some interference or run-ins, even though they didn't really happen. Another positive thing, I think, was that Spanish announce table leg drop. I thought it was pretty impressive because one of the things that's so great about The Undertaker is he doesn't do those moves often. He doesn't just...
Yeah.
He's not Taka Michinoku with these moves. Like
he makes them count when he does them.
He makes them count, and I liked seeing that. I think also for me, I think that I was such a fan of Undertaker and Shawn Michaels working together that I kind of expect that with a guy like Austin, but I just don't think The Undertaker and Austin have that same chemistry like Austin has with Bret Hart or that he'll have with The Rock later. So I think that maybe played a factor for me as well. And I agree with you, Bartlett, about going up into the stands. I didn't think it really worked that well for them. They were kind of up in the cheap seats there with Method Man, who they showed earlier.
Yeah, I was really surprised that Method Man couldn't get a better seat.
Can we get him a better seat? Yeah, he needs to be
get him in fucking ringside. Come
Yeah.
on.
What the hell? Yeah, I think the Cahoots build-up really kind of ruined it. I expected shenanigans. I expected something from Kane. I expected something from Mr. McMahon. Mr. McMahon played almost no part in any of this. So I thought
Except
that was...
for coercing Mankind into a suicide match.
Yeah.
To go play in traffic.
This match here, though, like, he played no part whatsoever, so... I don't know, it's just little lacking for me. I gave it 2 stars, though, because I didn't think it was a terrible match. I thought it was a pretty solid match.
That's really funny that you say that because I'm kind of on the opposite side of that where, like, I never thought that Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker had the level of chemistry that Austin and Undertaker did in this match.
Right.
I was always the 18%er on the Shawn Michaels Undertaker matches whenever they were happening, and it's funny to me to hear those roles kind of reversed here in this.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that is kind of interesting, and to lend a little bit of proof to Joe's point, I remember The Undertaker was on Stone Cold's podcast, or the Broken Skull sessions or whatever, and they both talked about how they were kind of disappointed that both of them felt they never had that classic match with each other. They talked about how they had a few big matches, but both of them felt that none of the matches they really gave their best, and they felt they could have done better. So it's interesting to hear that the wrestlers themselves feel they never delivered that classic match that they could have.
And it makes you wonder what type of classic matches could have happened between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Dr. Death Steve Williams, and we'll just never know.
If he hadn't died
Thanks
such an early
Bart
death. Joe, what'd Meltzer think of this?
Dave Meltzer gave this match 3.5 stars. He said it was a great effort and a very good match.
Okay. Well, we will praise him for his brevity in that. So, guys, the pay-per-view is over, and now it's time to talk about the most important question of all at a premium price of $29.95, slightly cheaper than the upcoming ESPN premium package that you're going to be expected to pay for in either...
By 5 cents?
Yeah, 4 cents, actually.
4 cents, yeah.
Did you get your money's worth? Joe, why don't you take that first?
I think I'm going to be an 18%er again. This is the first time in a long time I probably say no to this. Mostly, I guess it's probably because there's nothing that really, I don't think I gave more than 3 stars to anything, but there's nothing that really stood out for me. There's not a lot from this event that I remembered happening. Oddly enough, the only thing I remember from this was Edge being Sable's mystery partner, which was completely meaningless. Right. But that was the only thing I remember from this 1998 event before we rewatched it. I think that's really my main reason for saying no.
For me, it's a definite yes. These last 2 matches alone would have put it over for me. But other than that, there were a few other really strong matches. The Ken Shamrock, Owen Hart, the match that started us off with Val Venus and D'Lo. Really, the only low light was the Oddities versus Kai and Tai. So for me, it was an absolute yes.
Yeah, I'm right there too. Yes, absolutely. With just the extreme irony here being that, as I stated last week, I wouldn't have bought it based on the build-up.
Yeah.
I was firmly in the camp of I am not shelling out money for this if this is the way you're going to build it up, and I would have been wrong in that assumption.
But you would have been over my house watching it for free on the cheater box, so you would have saw it anyway. But.
Right.
You would have given it a thumbs up to the observer.
Right. Yes, I absolutely would have, because just looking back over my notes, there were a couple of duds, but those were expected duds. And besides those, I didn't go below 2 stars on any matches. The majority of them for me were at 3, and I even our main event was a 4.
We even got a pay-per-view jobber of the week here.
Yeah.
And a negative 2-star match from Meltzer.
So speaking of Mr. Dave and all of the thumbs up, Joseph, do you have some numbers for us from the Wrestling Observer?
Yeah, the Observer readers loved this event. They gave it a 90.7% thumbs up.
Whoa.
So that's the highest in quite a while.
One of the highest.
Joe, you're not even an 18%er.
No, I am a 2.8%er, apparently, because that was the thumbs down number and the rest in the middle. The best match was voted as Triple H versus The Rock, and the worst match was Kai and Tai versus the Oddities, so no surprises there for either of those. And Dave Meltzer says, with SummerSlam from both Madison Square Garden and its adjacent theater, the WWF's designated number 2 show of the year, the company lived up to its hype, and the hype for this show was immense, presenting one of the better shows of the year. So he really put it over.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW, just at gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most subversive Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. I'm really starting to stretch my thesaurus here. Next time on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on September 5th, 1998, with matches featuring Southern Justice, Los Boricuas,
Whoa,
and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.